right, here we are, everyone, again for our final full session of ShiftED for Tuesday, our community theme day. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. I know that these become very long days full of a lot of new information, but they've been just fantastic sessions so far. And I have no doubt that this one is also going to be phenomenal. So thank you so much for joining us. A couple of housekeeping things really quickly. Again, please note we are recording this session. So if you have any issues with that, this is your chance to kind of slip out or turn your video off. That's also totally fine. These sessions will be posted to YouTube as soon as we can humanly possibly do that. But they will be there in case you want to revisit them or if you miss any of the sessions over the course of ShiftED over this week. And then also the final thing, just to know that live transcript is available. So if you want to have any captioning as part of your experience of this panel, please do turn that on. They're actually pretty good. I know a lot of times they are not, but the ones that Zoom has now are actually pretty good. So, all right, without any further ado, I want to do some quick introductions. So I want to let you know that Christopher Lynn is here as our community volunteer moderator. So he's going to be helping us out, checking out the chat and helping to moderate the questions section. So welcome to Christopher. And then I want to just introduce our three amazing panelists. So we have Ann Ford and David John Walker and Diane Gibbs, and I'm going to pass it off to them so that they can dazzle us with all their amazingness. So thanks.
Let's see. Is it working okay? Okay. Hi, I'm Ann Ford. I am an associate professor of graphic design at Virginia State University outside of Richmond, Virginia in Petersburg. I've been teaching for 20 years and for the last 13 at Virginia State. So today I'm going to talk a bit about I did it, all of it. So we talk to practicing what we preach. So we talk to our students all the time about, you need to do side projects, you need to sketch, you need to collaborate, or you just need to play. To get them away from the daily grind and, just to give them a chance to clear their heads. But do we actually show them how to do this? And do we actually give them examples of things that we're actually doing? So this example here on the right is just a branding project I did for myself, just because it was something I wanted to do. No client involved, just me. Recently, I did a poster for the Hope Wall project in Richmond, Virginia, where artists around the world address the theme of hope for social and racial equality. So this is an ongoing wheat pasted, Marius, yours is up here in my picture. We were on the same wall together. So it changes about every 2 to 3 weeks. Ooh. Sorry about that. So I was asked to create a logo for 100th anniversary logo for a coffee company, Norfolk Coffee and Tea. This is a family-owned business. They've been doing everything bare bones up to this point. So after I did this logo, we decided to expand it a bit and change their logo. The current logo that they had was nothing like this one, so we kind of kept this look and kept going. But updating the logo, I did 80 coffee bag labels, 12 K-cup labels, 96 tea labels, business cards, website assistants, and trained the person who's going to be responsible for their web maintenance. The project was fun. I enjoyed it. I got lost in it. I had a great time, and I received not one dime of compensation, but I love this project so much. Well, this thing is okay, here we go. So here are just some examples of the K-cups and the labels for the bag, along with the new logo that they are currently using now. These are some of the tea labels.
Hey, Ann, you wouldn't have accepted any money though, right? Because they're talking about it in the chat. So just maybe clarify that. It's not like they stiffed you.
No, I wouldn't have accepted any money. In fact, this is family. Generally, I don't do work for family, but I felt so highly about this company that had been around for 100 years that the people that started this company were immigrants from Greece. And this is what they did. And it's still in the same family, the Stefanitsis family. That's where their beans and the jeans come from. So we're going on the third generation of this coffee company. So I enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun. They tried to give me money and I said no. And so every now and then I get coffee in the mail, or, you know, a cup here and there, or a t-shirt, but no compensation for it. I wouldn't accept it. Okay. This thing is like going slow. Okay, so we talk about journaling and sketchbooking. Okay, a lot of people journal, a lot of people do sketchbooks. I try to journal. I swear I do. It just doesn't work for me. I found myself sketching in the journal when I was trying to write. So I said, well, why don't I just sketch? So I started putting a sketchbook beside my bed and gave myself an hour or so before I went to sleep at night to journal. It was about to sketch. It was about the only time that I could carve out in the day uninterrupted. So these are just a few of the sketches, just like basic little things, just kind of clearing my mind. And then it started transitioning into typography, which is one of the loves of my life. So the project kind of turned an evolution into an alphabet sketchbook. So I did the letters of the alphabet, upper, lowercase, numbers, glyphs, characters, and these are a few spreads of those. Some of these came from existing fonts. Some of them were combination of existing fonts, and some of them were just kind of made up. So there's a whole plethora of different forms of inspiration that these came from. So sorry, this is where my computer's going very slowly right now. Very slowly. So numbers, ligatures. So I began searching for another source of inspiration to kind of take this hand lettering idea I had. So I thought, well, I'll take the other love, which is collage. And so I began searching for some inspiration. I've been collecting over the years, but you know, newspapers and pictures and just basic ephemera, and combine them with song lyrics. I feel like listening to music is one thing that's really feeds my creativity. So this particular one is a photograph that I took, some cut newspaper, a picture of the Golden Gate Bridge, some hand lettering, and the lyrics to Lights by Journey. And Golden Gate Bridge was significant because of them being from San Francisco. This is just another example of the cut paper. To be quite honest, I can't remember what song I used for this one because it's been a while. So, but I found that this was a bit time consuming, and I didn't have a lot of space. So come to the importance of community. And over the past 3 years, I've participated in Power Station with Diane, mastermind group that meets weekly, and we're given challenges, or we set a goal. And every season I would set a challenge that seemed to really my heart wasn't in it. I felt like I needed to make money. I felt like I needed to do something that was, you know, monetary. And this last season, after convincing from the group, I moved back to collage. and I started doing digital collage. And there's several reasons for the digital. I found it was easier. I didn't have to drag all the stuff out of my studio, out of the various locations it's located, and clear off a space. And so I kind of got into this digital collage, and that too I'd been collecting. I had gone to Italy for a study abroad and had 7,000 images that I didn't have anything to do with. So I started incorporating them in these. So this first one on the left is the only one that literally has the song lyrics in it. After this one, I kind of moved on and I didn't add any lyrics to it. They're basically just collage work. Like I said, with the physical ephemera, I've also been collecting the digital ephemera, and some of this is scanned in, some of it is purchased, and some of it is my own work. It's just kind of a mix. Also working with some Photoshop filters and brushes. So the one on the right here, I went to Williamsburg, and they have a letterpress facility, and I'd taken some photographs in there, and that's what this one is from. That's just one thing. Here you can see a few of the brushes. I've got a lot of things from the Library of Congress, a lot of things that are royalty free, and so there's just various different textures, there's various different layers. Just kind of played around with what came to me. So I would start with a base color and then move from there, and I'm going to show you an example of that in a minute. But there was really no sketching ahead of time. It was kind of like the sketchbook, and sitting down and exploring and kind of just letting myself go like I would write in a journal. Have a lot of fun doing these. I get lost in it, and time goes boom, and it's next thing I know, it's I usually spend somewhere around 2 to 3 hours on a Sunday afternoon. I might do 2 or 3. There might be times where I only get 1 done, and there's some weeks that I don't get any done at all. So, but I allow myself time. If I get some free time, I just sit down and I just do one. So this was the last one I did. During Power Station, I did 22, I think it was, in 12 weeks. And this is number 42. So I've got to continue doing them, but I just didn't start this until January. And I found that this has, been really fulfilling for me. So what I'm going to show you next is kind of the process. I kind of start with a basic texture color for the background, and then I start layering it. So here is just a photograph, and then some watercolor images, a crackled texture, a photograph I took of an old tractor, piece of ephemera, another illustration, just some more ephemera, some stamps. It's slow to move. Some tape. This is a brush. And then here's some textures and this was the end of it. So this was the final result. I have another one. Oh, one thing I want to say is these are anywhere from 3 or 4 up to 20 layers. It just depends. Sometimes there's more layers. Sometimes I can't decide if I want to keep it or not. So I kind of leave it there, but I might might not actually put it in the final, or I'll make 2 of the same one because I can't decide which one I like the best. So this one I just started with blue. Now this one was specifically, I started out with it to be blue, and I wanted it, a color palette in mind. So, and that's that one. So these are just some examples that, this hand drawing of nothing is impossible, and it's not right, and it's not perfect, and it's okay. But it's on my sketchbook, and it's something that, I want to keep telling the students as well as myself, nothing is impossible. So we need to share our projects more with the students. We need to give them more examples of what we're doing professionally and prove to them that they can do it and they have time. And they don't have to have a client. They can just do it for themselves. So challenges on the creative side of this that kind of get in the way of everything is 6 years ago, I took over as department chair of the Department of Art and Design. That alone was a significant challenge with only 2 full-time faculty, me being one of them. And now we've grown that to 5 and 2 in the process. And then we went through NASAT accreditation, self-study. And that was very time consuming. And at the same time, the university was going through SACS accreditation. So these were the, challenges towards the creativity. In addition, over the past year and a half, obviously, we've had COVID challenges, which has forced me to overload myself. I teach a 3-2, sometimes a 3-3 as chair. COVID-19 protocols, 60 advisees, adjunct issues, complete curriculum overload or overhaul, new construction of a new building, and an elevator being put in the existing building, and embarking on a new school, which details will come for that later. It's kind of still on the down low. And then life challenges. In the midst of all of this, I sold a house while building a new one, packed all my worldly goods into a pod, and went to storage, and I lived in my granddaughter's bedroom for 3 months. Moving into a new house and all that entails, and then a new lab puppy, God help us. But I did it. The fact is, I did it. Myth busted, I did all of it. And I did it for me. I didn't do it for a client. I didn't, a lot of David and Diane both have a lot of clients. I don't know what I would do if I had all the clients, because, just the sheer amount of time that I don't have. But allow yourself to do something for yourself that makes you feel good. That's okay. No, but I thank you. And I hope this helps, that, sitting down, putting all of this together was kind of an eye opener of how much I actually done, because I don't really feel like I've done anything. And so that's my presentation. Thank you.
David, do you want to jump in now?
Yeah, I'll jump in. Let's see, get my
Tell them who you are too,
my screen going. All right, so good afternoon, friends. My name is David John Walker. I'm an associate professor at Austin Peay State University, and this would be, I guess, in August, starting year number 10, teaching. A decade has gone by. That's wild to think about. All right, so side projects deserve a fair shake, in my opinion. So for as long as I've been an educator, I've been a practicing designer. And that big myth is that side projects decrease student engagement and service possibilities as a faculty academian. All right, so it's always been my intention to be involved in projects outside of my teaching duties. And each project provides nuance and circumstantial learning that I can relay directly to my classes as scenarios and present first-person accounts of client or collaborative experiences, as well as finding opportunities, further opportunities for the students, as well as me proving that I actually am a designer to my students. I know when I first started teaching, I was around the same age as some of the students, and they were like, nah, you can't really be a designer. So that's always a fun share. But from there, I suggest to be an educator that is involved civically. I'm currently an AIGA Democracy by Design Task Force member with AIGA National. I'm on the CMYK Council for Poster House Museum in New York City. I'm a board member of AIGA Nashville. I'm a mayor-appointed commissioner for the Nashville Arts Commission, and so we approve projects in the city that fund arts and design programs that citizens in the city can partake in. I'm also an advisory board for the Nashville Children's Theater, and I've done collateral and some work for them, as well as giving them student recommendations for interns or nonprofit work. I'm also a member of the Nashville Public Art Committee. So if you visit Nashville and you see some weird sculptures, I may have been one of the people that helped decide that those qualified to be put up in the town. So for me, it's about the work that answers the questions that the students don't ask about. And it really informs ways to push the students based on continuous learnings. But those collected moments not only make for a strong CV, but more importantly, connectedness within your community. So I guess to define it, side projects to me are any creative opportunities that take place outside of the teaching environment. So a list that absolutely could be larger than this includes client works, self-initiated design projects, writings, including books, articles, reviews, posters, etc., podcasts or videos, curatorial activities, and more. The even bigger myth, which could have been first, is there's really not enough time. So to talk about time, I'm a parent of 3. I've got a 16-year-old, a 13-year-old, and a 2-year-old, and they've all got their own individual schedules and their own specific needs. I'm also an educator. I teach a 3-3 course load. I'm a community advocate as a member of a Chamber of Commerce in Nashville. I'm a practicing designer, as well as a runner, and most recently a sock model for Swiftwick Socks based out of Brentwood, Tennessee. So from there, to give my outlook, I've got a 3-3 teaching load. I've had 70 plus active client projects of varied scale over the last 1.5 years. I instituted a daily fitness project for myself, as well as a daily lettering challenge. Over the past year, I've had 20 plus speaking engagements, plus 9 exhibitions that I've sent work into or been accepted to. All right, so life is full, but the truth is, you really should make the time. I mean, we have time, and if we carve it out, we can self-soothe by creating things for ourselves that make us feel happy or improve the environment or whatever. So it works like this. Have far out deadlines that you don't really know the end of, or it's not really pressing, but you've got time to create it. Loose deadlines where they give you something to give back to them in a relatively moderate amount of time. Or you can just really be fast, or have no deadlines or open due dates at all. It can just be an ongoing project that you just experiment with. So a client projects, I'll give a few examples, and these are all recent within the past year. So a far out client of mine, I was fortunate enough to be asked by the National Museum of African American Music in downtown Nashville, Tennessee, to do some environmental design work for one of their entryways for the new museum, which opened in January of this year. And so this was an 8-month project. They contacted me in November, and my work was installed in June of this year. So I guess going back to the connectedness, the way I actually got this project was I served on the public art committee with a person who was the interior designer for the museum. And she didn't know anyone in the area, and I happened to be a graphic designer who was also on the public art committee with her, and she asked if I had had any experience in it. And I said no, but I can figure it out. And the opportunity was born from there. So as you can see, here are the mock-ups that I gave to the fabricators. It's all typographic. I wanted you to be wrapped in the warmth of descriptions. So it's floor to ceiling text in this long corridor. And in the top right corner is this welcome image of silhouettes, which is kind of interactive. You have to guess which artist that is on the wall. And these are images of the install. All right, so client number 2, a loose deadline. I was asked by a friend to do a brand system and more for Nina Turner for US Congress. She's actually running for the seat to replace, what is her name? Marcia Fudge, who's now in Biden's cabinet. So this was a 2-month deadline, but there really wasn't a hard date within those 2 months that I had to deliver this work. So it went from January to February of 2021. And I was asked to set up the brand system that all the media teams, TV folks, ad folks, could use as a guide when creating assets for the candidate. So as you can see here, it's a brand system guide, and it lays out the colors, the logo marks, the type usage, the color palette, and I really dive into how we want to position the candidate. In comparison to other candidates of color like Kamala Harris or Cory Booker, they typically grayscale those candidates and put them on colored backgrounds. And I really wanted to take the opportunity to highlight Senator of Ohio Turner's personality, and she wears quirky glasses and really colorful outfits, and make sure that they weren't drowned out by the colors. So here's the brand system, as well as some early voting collateral samples as examples for the teams to produce from, as well as the digital and web ad set. All right, so ticking down the list, here's a fast client. In 2018, Tennessee Power Together contacted me about doing some collateral work and promotional work for the Women's March first year anniversary from the National Women's March that was held in Washington, D.C. So they gave us a two-week turnaround, and I collaborated with my design faculty colleagues at Austin Peay State University, Rachel Bush and Patrick Gosnell, to get this completed. And you can see all of these pieces. So we created an identity mark, which used the icon from the national brand, social media image set that they ran with and posted all over the place. They had digital billboards donated, so they were run all over town. There was a conference before the rally and the march, and so we did conference badges, we did door markers, there was even a program booklet and guide. And based on the assets that we put out, over 900 people registered for the conference. They only had accounted for 250 attendees, and they really they actually expected a little over 1,000 people to show up for this march, and over 11,000 people descended on descended on Nashville from 13 different states. So it was great. So that was fast and successful, and an opportunity to collaborate with my colleagues in a fun and interesting way. So self-projects, open deadlines or no deadlines. So while these have no deadlines, they absolutely have parameters. So in April of last year, I started a mile-a-day challenge. On April 17th, or really April 16th, a friend of mine from college asked if I wanted to dig into this 30-day run challenge. And so on day one, I ran a mile. So you'll see here's day 143. And so my pal came into town and we actually got to run together. And today is 473 of running at least a mile a day. So this is actually this morning shot. So from there, I actually challenged myself to run some letters in the street and letter based on the runoff election in Georgia. So this is Vote Georgia. A funny story about the letter E in the word vote. I actually had to run it twice because I ran it too short. So instead of it being 0.45 miles, it was almost a mile. So some E's aren't worth it, but this one I guess was. As they say in Wheel of Fortune, E is the most used vowel. All right, so my other most notable self-initiated project is just this on hand lettering. So I didn't take a typography class in undergrad or in graduate school. I had really self-taught type through Ellen Lupton's books and other research, but I never just spent time lettering and drawing letters for myself. So on April 29th, or prior to April 29th, I asked Mary Kate McDevitt and Simone Wilder if they would join me on a hand lettering challenge on Instagram. And so the prompt was for 15 days, I would draw or letter whatever I missed for 15 days straight. So the more intimidating fact of this is that Mary Kate McDevitt has multiple books out. She's done tons of stuff. She's got a huge Instagram following. And Simone Wilder is a letterer on the rise. She's done stuff on Saturday Night Live and a lot of other high profile clients. And so I decided to use my iPad and Apple Pencil and Procreate to get it started. So I hand lettered the prompt, and this next slide is going to show the 15 things that I missed at that time period when the world was shut down. So hugs for my mom. I missed going to the barber shop. I missed life before Zoom. I missed my students at Austin Peay. I missed wearing bow ties to work. I missed meeting over cigars and going out for drinks on Cinco de Mayo. I missed small gatherings. Politically, I missed truthful leaders. I missed driving my car. I hate the fact that we didn't get to spend Mother's Day brunch out. I miss dining out, wearing good shoes, going out unmasked. And at the end of the semester, I missed boarding a large plane and going somewhere after the semester ended abroad. So from there, the day that George Floyd was killed, I posted this piece just out of a place of desperation and hope. And it was really a rough time. But from this lettering project and posting things daily, it caught the eye of Fine Acts, which is a international nonprofit based out of Bulgaria, and the leader of that nonprofit was an Obama fellow. And so I was invited with 11 other artists to contribute a protest poster that could be printed out on your own for free. And it was run by Mashable, and I want to say New York Times or the Washington Post, and a lot of people printed them out. I was really shocked and amazed. And so because I had that practice of lettering something every day, and that prompt was to letter something every day, sit down for an hour and just draw out letters based on whatever you're talking about or whatever you see in the media or whatever you're feeling. This week was tons of time for me to get this piece done, but nonetheless, I wanted it to speak to the urgency of the matter and the protesters. So from this exhibition, I was asked by a small shop in Nashville. They sell high-end used clothes, high-class hillbilly, to produce a poster for Nashville protest and Black Lives Matter supporters. And I had a week to do this one as well, which felt like a ton of time. Also, I had no idea what to charge for this. And so I just told them to pay whatever they wanted to. So from there, I continued lettering well beyond that 15th day. And whatever was happening in the media or whatever we were talking about around the dinner table or with my friends, based on the fact that we couldn't see each other, I had plenty of things as prompts to letter on. So from there, I got an opportunity to be on a podcast with Chris Martin Studios for my first solo podcast to talk about lettering and teaching on Zoom, as well as being in the house and challenging myself to do more things and continuing that cycle of learning. Again, more lettering, but as well as lettering, but more opportunities. Fine Acts commissioned 2 pieces for Congress Collage, which is this organization which allows you to pay $2 and you can send whatever piece of artwork to your local representative with a message of your choice. So still continue to letter. At this point, I think the primaries were heating up, as well as the voting rhetoric was heating up. And this piece about not questioning citizenship was about Kamala Harris being an American citizen. Tear Gas for Mothers was based on the protesting moms in Portland, Oregon, and America Be Heard this time was based on voting. And yeah, so all of these are just passionate pieces based on whatever I was thinking about. So from those posts and things that I'm putting out there, I was asked by the Biden design team to participate in a poster exhibition in October. And so never in my wildest dreams did I think I would be in a exhibition next to Paula Scher or Debbie Millman for that matter, which both at this point are AIGA medalists and well known for their contributions in design. So again, still lettering. At this point, I'm getting more complex in the compositions of the works and having more fun with it, experimenting with typographic styles, and just seeing where I can go with it. Saying yes to opportunities. I was asked by Maurice Cherry to be a guest on Revision Path, which is a podcast that features designers of color. And this podcast is now being collected by the Library of Congress, which is awesome. In January of 2021, but selected in February of 2021, I submitted a piece for the Typism 7 book. The first time I ever submitted something like this. There were 8,000 worldwide entries, and I was one of 192 selected. So there's like this big step of being brave and just not having an outlook, or at least a predestined outlook of how things should go. So in March, I created a series honoring quotes by women of color for Women's History Month. And so the prompt for this was to find a great photograph of them, choose a color that represented sort of the spirit that they embodied, and quote them, or find a famous quote that they had spoken into existence. And so of course, the constraints were to display the colors or in a monochromatic fashion using contrast and color for type, and include a different script lettering style in each post. So this one here is a friend of mine, and some of you all know well, Kelly Walters, who's a professor at Parsons. The way you make is intertwined with who you are. And so across them, you know, other famous women that have done notable things in society as actresses, as scientists, as feminists or poets and activists, screenwriters, investors and businesswomen or lawyers. The great thing about this is that I wanted to really dive into type and challenge myself to see what it would feel like to letter in a different type of script each time. So I had a whole lot of fun with this one. And then one of the additional motivations is that I wanted to create a book for my daughter that I could share with her later on in life. That was of my hand and not another author's. So currently, I'm in a display type course workshop at Cooper Union in New York City. So I'm working on a display typeface named Dash Grotesque, and it's a sans serif that's quirky. I was commissioned by American Greetings for a couple greeting cards to go in a line at Target. I was also asked by the Center on Wrongful Convictions at Northwestern University in Illinois to do a logo for their center for the law school and an accompanying website. I'm also currently working on season show graphics for the season 15 for Hattie Theater in Memphis, Tennessee. And I'm also working on a magazine newsletter for the Rotary District 6760 in Tennessee. So this is actually only a fraction of what was accomplished in between 2020 and 2021. But this is my thoughts. Side projects are a must. It increases your dialogue amongst your friends, colleagues, students, and clients. There's a constant energy surrounding your work that you can bring to any room that you walk into. And then you absolutely have very varied experience with clients that you can share with your students. And there are always opportunities for collaborations, whether it's with students, whether it's with colleagues, or in my case, whether it's with yourself. And you can continue building design skills and keeping yourself sharp. Your work will show more of you than you actually know. And that's something that I've learned over the past year, actually putting my work out there to be seen and be discussed or critiqued. So please remember, and these are 3 quotes from Octavia Butler, Viola Davis, and Sheila Johnson. The big talent is persistence. Definitely challenge people's belief systems, whether it's your students or your colleagues or your clients. Challenge what they think so they can grow as well. And last but not least, don't rest on your laurels and keep working, because there's always something new to learn and something new to do. Thanks so much, and I hope you enjoyed it. All right, Diane, take it away.
All right, that was awesome, David. I know we could end with David, right? Anne and David have made it very difficult for me. So hopefully my screen will share and this will go okay. Okay. Now you can see my screen, full screen. Okay. All right. So I thank you guys for letting me play. So I really believe that a lot of people think that they can't do the side projects, right? And I can't see the chat. So if somebody needs to say something to me, I can't watch the chat. And so just interrupt me, please. But I think that sometimes we think that there are some things that we can't do because of whatever the excuses are. And so I want to walk through some of what I think some of those excuses might be. These are excuses that are not holding Anne or David or me back, that there wasn't enough time, myth busted. Anne has so much to do. David's got 3 kids. I don't know how they do all that they do. So that they don't have a budget for this. Well, I think you can do a lot of things that without even a budget. So a time budget or even a monetary budget. So myth busted. I have too many responsibilities. You may think, well, I've just got too much to do. You could always, even if it's just 30 minutes, you could get up just a little bit earlier or stay up a little bit later to do this, because this, I believe this will change your life. This has changed my life. So myth busted. And I'm too old. I'm 48. So if I can do it, you can do it. So myth busted. You're never too old. I'm just getting started. Let's get serious here, people. So, and I messed up on some of these. I've said restraints instead of constraints. I did fix it on this one, but y'all can laugh every time it comes up. It'll be a drinking game. Y'all can just drink every time you see restraints. Why would I put restraints? You'll see it in a second. Anyway, so must-haves for a side project. I think you have to have a time commitment. You have to literally commit, like David did 15 days or 30 days or 100 days or 365 days or forever he will let her and run a mile, right? And there's also how much time will you spend each day doing these things? One thing David didn't say that I love, that all these don't have to be design related. I know that we're sharing a lot of design related ones, but he says, like the moving one, he said he told a friend, he's like, man, how do you find time to do that? So I'm totally stealing this, David, but this is David talking. Just pretend like it's me, him, not me. But he said, you walk 7 miles in 7 minutes in one direction and then walk 8 minutes back. Then you've walked 15 minutes, right? So then a little bit, we can all do something like that. That spoke to me. So then the next one is constraints. This is the only type in this whole slide deck. It's constraints. So you know what I mean. You're setting up some parameters for you to work in. I think it's really important to do that. You also have to have a willingness to try new things and fail. Be like Edison, fail 100 times of inventing the light bulb, right? And then I believe accountability. That's where community really comes in. And I believe in being a bottom cheerleader, and I'll tell you what that is in a little bit. So what you need to know about me, and I am going to go fast because I'm going to try to get it so that you guys can ask some questions. I am awkward. I am curious. I am unpolished. I am quirky. I often am underestimated. Things don't come easy to me. I was never like that solid A kid. I don't give up. And my ADHD is a superpower, I think. So let me flip that story. Being awkward makes me relatable. Being curious means that I'm never bored and I'm always learning. Being unpolished means that I'm approachable. Being quirky means that I'm refreshing and unexpected, I've been told. Often underestimated is hope. So hope is usually a welcome surprise. That things didn't come easy meant that I was able to develop grit. No grit, no pearl, you know. And I don't give up. That means that I'm really reliable and that you can't scare me away. And having ADHD, which I can't say, means that I can juggle maybe more than most. So I think of it as a benefit. So I have an affinity for, these are the things I love. People, I love people. I'm an extrovert, if you didn't know. I love learning. I love collage. So does Megan D. And that's why I call her my mini me, because she's younger than me. She's taller than me, but she's younger than me. And then I love security envelopes. So I'm hoping by the end of this, you will also all want my address, which I will give you, and you can send me security envelopes. You'll see. So I love people and things that are often overlooked and underappreciated, because I feel like that was me for a lot of my life. So let me just paint this picture. 2011 to 2012, I had been teaching at my University of South Alabama in Mobile on the Gulf Coast since 2003. I taught for a year at VCU, where I got my master's, and I worked in Denver as a designer. I'm going backwards. I don't know why I'm doing that, but I worked in Denver for 5 years as a designer, and I went to Auburn, and I grew up in Atlanta. Okay, so now I'm back in Alabama, and I love being in Alabama because, again, underestimated, right? Everybody's like, oh, it's just a whole bunch of rednecks down there. You know what? They're great people, and it's really cheap to live here. So here we go. So in 2011 to 2012, I was teaching full time. I was 5 classes per year. So I have more time than Anne or David. I was a tenured associate professor, and I was working on promotion to full professor. I had just gotten, I think, in 2012 or that summer or whatever. I applied for a position at my alma mater at Auburn, which I still love, War Eagle. And I got rejected, not even like a normal rejection, like I get a letter and I even got an interview, nothing. They didn't, I had to call them like 3 times and ask them if they had filled the position. And they were like, look, we're not calling you. We don't want you. And I was like, Lord, what did I do as an undergrad that they're not even sending me a rejection letter? But maybe, okay, I'm always thinking about ways I can improve. And my business was growing. I had 53 projects that year and I had 25 active clients. They were all over from California to North Carolina and still had a bunch in Colorado. I had a 1-hour commute 4 days a week at minimum. And I had no design community. There was an AIGA within 2 hours. The nearest one is 2.5 hours away in New Orleans. Now we have one. I was part of that team that founded, whatever, you know what I mean, put one here in Mobile. So my designs, I was teaching design, but my designs were getting stagnant. I was not I wasn't learning and I wasn't pulling new things in like I needed to. So, and look, Marius is here. And look, it was the first one I pulled, Marius. So I didn't know Marius before this. I think actually maybe Megan introduced me or Anne introduced me. And I ended up getting, it was just people. I would get people and say, hey, do you know anybody? And I would just, Joey Ellis, I got just from following him. I supported him in a Kickstarter and then I had him on. I interviewed one of my kids that was moving from Mobile to New York City because I was thinking, you know, some people are just scared to move. The ones that are square in the middle with Janda and my friend Ash and my friend Phyllis, they are all more recent, like in last year or something. And then, but the other ones with the big orange thing at the bottom were more of the ones at the beginning. I think Marius told me about Nikki Villagomez, and that was, she started an AIGA chapter in South Carolina. And then Bethany Heck, and I'm just totally tiny bit on this. So Design Recharge is a podcast, but it was a web show in the beginning. So you could come live. You actually still can come live. That's how I've always done it. So it's live every Wednesday at 2:30 Eastern time, 7:30 BST if you're British summertime, and then Pacific time, it's 11:30 if you're in Hawaii, because I know all those. This is the only way I can do the math. It's at 8:30 right now in Hawaii. But people come, they come live, and I interview somebody, and it's like a webinar, so you aren't seen, so you can just type things in the chat so you can get your voice heard. I always try to answer your questions before I even answer mine. But what's happened to me as a designer is, one, now I've learned a whole bunch of things. I've learned processes. I've learned so much by just talking to people. And one of the people that I did, I'll tell you about it in a second, because I forgot about this slide. So I made a commitment to myself because there was a guy, Srini Rao, and he did a podcast I was listening to, and he said, you really need to make a commitment when you're doing this to do this podcast or this side project for a minimum of 5 years. And my aunt one time, she was like, why are you doing this? And she said, who's making you do this? And I was like, me. I'm making me do this. I don't know, like maybe I'm just weird, but I committed to 5 years. So it was once a week. It was about an hour, or a little bit over talk. And it took me about 10 hours a week. So I had to do the scheduling. I had to do a pre-meeting with whoever my guest was. And then I also, do promotions and write questions and blah, blah, blah. But it was about 10 hours a week is what it takes. So this is just one way that somebody I interviewed changed the way I designed. So I didn't know the Library of Congress. I don't know. Maybe I'm just some podunk in Alabama, but hey, I didn't know, but people have to tell, right? I remember being in school. I think somebody said at the last session, it was like, people would be like, oh, well, don't you know, like Alberto, you said, they would say, oh, well, don't you know this person? And I'm like that too. I'm like, no, that's why I'm here. I hope you people will tell me. And they would be like, who doesn't know this? And I'd be the only one raised my hand. I felt like a biggest dumbass, but I'm like, hey, I want to get as much learning as I can. I'm not going to tell people I don't know. Teach me then, right? But Bethany is like, was one of my professors, Professor Ross Heck. It's his daughter. So she grew up around type, and I love Bethany. Bethany is so amazing, and she's hilarious, but she really combines type in such a neat ways. But I love history, and there's so many beautiful pieces in the Library of Congress. So I was commissioned to do for the Center for the Study of War and Memory. They were doing the 150-year reunion, not a reunion. What? Anyway, you guys can cut this out. They're going to never ask me back for this stuff. Anyway, so what it is, I took a whole bunch of images from the Civil War, from the Library of Congress, and they're huge. They're really big images. And then I split it because our country was split in half. So people from both sides are represented there. And then I made that sheet of paper, again, getting my hands dirty, loving to do stuff like that. That type is Maddox Schuler, who I also interviewed on my podcast. And the big type that you'll see here is called Abolition. He made that typeface too. This is called Colt, the Civil War, the one that's in that's by Maddox Schuler, Fort Foundry. So the big type, Time Commitment, that's Abolition by Maddox Schuler. So the next slide project, so I'm just running. I'm like, okay, that's the longest running one. That's my 9-year one, 9+. It'll be 10. I don't know when I'll do next June, but we'll celebrate. So the next side project that I did, the time commit was just 30 minutes to 2 hours a day for 30 days. The restraints, like, what am I doing? Constraints, people. I was staying up to 2:30 trying to get this deck together, and I didn't want to miss anything yesterday. So I came to the conference. So the constraints, you guys can just laugh. This is a drinking game. That's when you're going to drink. So it was a digital collage. I am not great with colors, so I wanted to limit my color palette, and I love security envelopes. So I wanted to do different envelopes. Each day I had to have 30 different envelopes, and DWMRS had to show up on all of them. The 3, which is always at the bottom, willingness to try new things and fail. I said yes. The accountability was that it was from the Future Pro group. It's a group that I'm a member of, professional organization. So accountability is that I must post daily, and I use future pop art. And this is a really cool hashtag if you go in. These are not mine. These are other people's that were doing the challenge with me. And I just really liked it, just to kind of show you what the challenge was. So the next one is Steve Ray Boyle. I loved this because this is somebody who is doing house projects, and he's like, I'm still going to do this project. And he would go to Lowe's, he would take pictures, and then he would just mash it up. And I love how he, the quickcrete, which is like concrete, and the boss stitch staples and whatever. I don't even know what all these things are, but I just love it. I just love how he minimized, and it made me want to design better. And I think when you do this with other people, it's just kick butt. Okay. So that's the big typeface that Maddox did. Okay, so I had to use my own constraints, not restraints, but my own where I had to use different security envelopes and mail-related graphics. So this is one of the, I love security envelopes. I hope you people will not throw them away after today. You can send them to me, or you can make your own collages. So you can see there's this beauty in here, right? So I made a deck. The DWMRS is a double window mail or miscellaneous repositional glue, or it might be return window, and the S is self-sealing. So I just love this, that those bars that are on the side is the little thing at the bottom of the in America, it's the bottom of the post office, like some sort of code. I don't know what it is, some code thing. And I'm sure it reads to a computer. And then I just love this type. It's called, I can't remember, right? Retro. No, not retro. Anyway, I'll tell you, it'll come to me in a second. So here's another one. This looks like cheesecloth. I did this. I'm going to kind of fly through these. I hope you're not bored. Look it, don't forget your free gift. I mean, I don't know. Probably this envelope was better than the free gift. I just thought these were really fun. And this one is probably my favorite. Doesn't this look like boxer shorts? I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but I love this one. But look at the detail. Somebody is putting that much detail into an envelope. So I use my alma mater colors, Auburn's colors, orange and blue. Not that y'all couldn't tell this. This looks like Hubert. For anybody who was a 70s kid or 80s kid, you'll know what I'm talking about. So there's chaos on the front and then order on the back, right? And then I love numbers. So we all probably get this. This is where our check stubs come in, right? And this is that one. And then this one's a little psychedelic. I like it. So I made something like that. I do love numbers, pulled things out. So the next one I've done, again, I get better as I do them. The next 30-day side project was, the time commitment was 30 minutes, 2 hours a day for 30 days. This is one I was doing with my design recharge people, the podcast group. So the constraints that it had to be a physical collage. It also was going to be a limited color palette. I don't know why, but I said, I'm going to add legs. I don't know. I didn't have a reason. I'm not like a leg person. I don't know. I just did it because I knew I could find legs in like magazines. So then I was going to mock it up on a tall can. So everybody did different things. Some people did cans, some people did bottles, boxes, all kinds of things. And I was going to post daily using design recharge bevs. Is this going okay? Or should I just close it up? How is it going? Megan, you're the only one I can see. Okay. Okay. Thank you. So then willingness to try new things and fail. Holy cazoli, did I fail? But that's okay. I had to use physical material to make a collage using a limited color palette and legs. Okay. So some of these, if you can, this is my friend Will, he did it and he did these illustrations. He didn't want to do like a real thing. No problem. No problem, buddy. You do whatever you want. This is my student did it. So my student did it. This and my friend Debbie Clapper did. This is all hand drawn. And so then the rest were mine. This is one of the legs. It's like from a Land's End catalog or something, you know, it's nothing. I mean, I don't have rights to this. Hopefully. Oh, and then my friend Brian White, he redid LaCroix. And so he did a whole series on LaCroix. So I'm just going to show you some zoomed in because I think they're cool. So I used some real collage material. I used real collage material. What is that, Diane? I don't know. It's real paper, people. Not that anything's wrong with Anne's awesome digital ones, because I did digital before, but this is like real gold paint or copper paint or something. That's like a 3D glasses, and I just plopped it up. You know, these are real collages. I have them sitting right beside me. And this is, I feel bad now after watching the thing yesterday, the people's graphic design initiative thing that we're supposed to send stuff in and take pictures, because I like totally cut up old design things and made them my own, but maybe that's okay. And then this, I made like an azalea, like one of the, like a little rubber stamp. And then I did some watercolor, and this was like an Auburn magazine, and I just cut it up. And then I love this one on the side. Again, it has an envelope. A lot of them have envelopes in there, but that wasn't a constraint this time, but it does. They all have legs. It's kind of like a thing, but here's the thing. Sometimes, and David definitely had this happen, sometimes things that you did not expect happen when you expose yourself daily within a container. And I think the container is really, really important. So you can get work because you're showing people that you know how to do things in a regular, and you can produce them in a timely manner, and you can stick within the constraints, not restraints, people. What was I thinking? So this one, it ended up being total of 6 months, but we kind of just did planning for about 3 months. And somebody told me, oh, it takes 2 years to make a kid's book. I was like, well, I only got 3 months. I'm going to make it in 3 months. Now, I'm not saying it was the best thing ever, but I think it was pretty damn good because I'd never done anything like that. So I had 3 months to work on illustrations. My constraints were it was going to be physical collage. I was going to add watercolor on top of it. Then I was going to digitally sandwich pieces together using the black lines that I had made in Procreate. And then the other kind of half constraints was I had one main character, and it's a car with ADHD. His name is Victor. I didn't write it. My friend Lydia wrote it, who I actually introduced her to her husband 20 years ago. Accountability really was only accountable to Lydia, but it was a total group thing because, and this was willingness to fail. Holy moly, this is super uncomfortable. But I was like, okay, well, my friend needed to get her book out and she wanted me to help her. And I was absolutely happy to do it. So I used physical materials. I used envelopes, AT&T envelope and Discover Bill were my two most used to make the scenes. And then it started with black line drawings and Procreate. So there's Lydia. And that's what I looked like 20 years ago, people, because I've been a designer for that long. And we worked at a magazine in Denver together. So that's the cover of the book. This was 2019. I really worked on it from maybe September, October, and November. I finished it at the end of November, and it was launched and ready for Christmas, the beginning of December. And it was a real publisher. It wasn't like she did all that stuff, all that magic. But this is kind of how it looks. So the inside of the AT&T envelope is a bigger envelope, thankfully. I am probably one of the only people that still checks, no, I would like them to be sent to me because I want the security envelopes. So that's what it looks like on the left. And then when you put the black lines, sandwich them. That's what happens. So this is the inside. So what happens is Victor gets kind of this vroom, zoom, ticka-taka, rev, zicka, zacka. Well, that typeface was created because of Design Recharge. Well, I didn't create it, but I had a guest on my podcast, and Thomas Jockin, and he does Type Thursdays, and he had made some type for Google. Well, Bonnie Shaver Troop, she had watched or listened to it, and so she contacted Thomas. And she had for 20 years been saying, hey, I think it'll be helpful if we could change the type so that people could be more fluent in reading. It will help people read better, help people with dyslexia. That's why it's called LexIn, to end dyslexia. And she ended up contacting Thomas, and they made this typeface. And then Thomas is like, hey, let's see if Google will fund it. And they did. They fund it. So LexIn is actually, and it's not all uppercase. There's lots of other weights and stuff, and it's upper lower. And this is actually out, and you can all use it. It's a variable typeface available to all of us on Google. Anyway, it was a little bit hard to get it to print, and the publisher didn't want to do it. And I was like, no, we're getting it printed. I have to have it. So I have this envelope that I'll show you later, but this is the envelope because I want you to see that Victor actually came out a real envelope. So I tried to scan it today, but that's what he looks like. And that's what it looks like before I put the black lines on there. And this is another one, just kind of to let you know, there's lots of other envelopes. There's some paper from Hobby Lobby, or, like scrapbooking paper. And then I did the lines and the mud and the stuff over. Anyway, so Victor his friends kind of get mad at him because he can't control his engine. But then he realizes when he goes to see the Jeep, and he's like, can you fix this? Nick, the mechanic, and Nick's like, no, man, this is what your engine's supposed to sound like. Let me show you how to use it. And I love that as somebody who's often misunderstood. So remember, my first love is people. So my personal challenge since sometime in 2019 was to make a friend a week. So in 2018, I started, I just want to love on people, for no reason, just to make more friends. And so I started this thing in February, just where we love on other people. So you would tell somebody who had inspired you, and then maybe you would reach and you would encourage somebody else. Each week is a different prompt. There's usually 5 weeks in February. And so I made greeting cards. I love greeting cards. And I think love shines brighter when it's shared. Like it's what do you call those? Lightning bugs. It's just, except it's love. Anyway, so I call Love on Designers, and it's so if you come, if you want to be my friend, I'm booking friends all the time. I have spots, and I'm always needing new friends. And so I have special things to make a new friend. If you want to do it, you can reach out to me. Share my phone number at the very end. So the Make a New Friend side project, it's time commitment of an hour a week. That's it. The constraints are it's a Zoom call with a new friend. There's no expectations other than friendship. And I'm just accountable to myself. But nobody's told me no yet. And I've been doing it for over a year, and for every week for over a year. And I've met people from all over the world, and it's just amazing. It definitely helped my design as well. So you get to decide how short your short-term side projects are going to be. My exploration, when I'm not great at something, if I don't know how to do it, then I would do a 30 days or 100 days. But I do think the constraints or restraints are really important there. And then my growth focused or learning based projects are long-term. Those are those that are 9 years or 2 or more years. 3 or 6 months was Victor. There was a lot of learning there. And then 12 weeks at a time is this mastermind group I do. The long-term projects are always community focused. They're learning focused. Most of them have growth focused, which is either personal or business. And then also some of them are exploration focused, like collage and illustration. This is one of the greeting cards I did. So it was like, spread the love, get it? Like all the designers are on the piece of bread. I don't know who's eating the bread, but whatever. It's Design Recharge. It's 9 years. It focused on community growth and learning. And then I did a camp. So it's a creative camp, a camp for creative solopreneurs or entrepreneurs looking to level up and also have community. And it's better if you learn and grow together over a long period of time. We're educators, right? So I think people miss it and they need time to be able to talk to other people. And so that's what Creatives Ignite does. And it's 5 weeks. The first year I had 27 speakers, and then we had 2 per week. So 10 campfire chats where we get to come together, and then there's prompts. We do small breakout rooms and you get to know each other. And then this year I didn't do 27. I did 3 a week. I did 1 week with 4. And then David was one of my workshop people. So there were 4 things you could do each week, and it focuses on that's. I've done it for 2 years. It just ended on Saturday. So if I am a little more weird than normal, that's why I haven't gotten a lot of sleep catch up yet. So 2 years, it focuses on community learning and growth. And then this one was, I used Auburn. This is just a, Google Earth. And I don't know if you can do that. Please don't turn me in if it's illegal. But anyway, that's how I did it. And I used Retro Supply brushes for my thing, because my friend Dustin, he owns Retro Supply. So that was a 6-month project. It was exploration, learning, and growth. There really wasn't much community on that. This is what Mastermind is. There's Anne, and there's some other people that were part of season 6. There's 2, there's a day and a night. The day one includes people from across the pond because it's a little late for the people across the pond here. So I've done 6 seasons. That means it's 12 weeks each, and it's all 4. There's community, there's learning, there's growth, and there's exploration. It's been really powerful. To me, when I was alone back in 2012 and beyond before, it was like creating in a vacuum. And you know what vacuums do? They suck. So my light was dimming. I didn't have much inspiration because I didn't make time for it. So with a little encouragement and accountability, I feel like it's good to walk next to people. And that's what I want to do. I just want to walk next to people because I feel like when I learn from my students and when they can learn from me, that's the best situation. So time is on our side, people. We can control time, my friend Costa says. So now is the time for you to take action. Overthinking causes paralysis and everybody gets hot and they want to jump in the water. So just sometimes you just got to go and don't overthink it. You got to figure out what is fuel for you. Like envelopes are for me. You got to figure out what it is for you. And then you just start with a microburst. Maybe it's 15 days. That's it. A side project. Start with a microburst side project and make some wishes and begin. I don't know if that's where y'all are from, but when you shake those or blow those, you're supposed to make a wish, and that's what it is. And a ladybug's supposed to be good luck too. So where to begin? I want you to pick something that you're immensely curious about. I want you to pick your time frame and how long you're going to spend per day, right? And choose at least 3 constraints. Hey, I got it right that time. I want you to enlist a friend. All you need is one other person to hold you accountable. And then I want you to clear out time in your calendar that you need to do this because it'll change your life. Simply get started. I think you could get started this week. So when you are consistent, you will see growth in yourself and you will inspire others. So I do a project, a 30-day social media challenge that students have 45 days during this fall semester to make. And they have 30 posts. And I've tried it a bunch of different ways. If you want this, I'm happy to share this PDF with you. These are some of the ones that my students did. My friend, I guess he's my friend. They're my friends now. He's graduated. This is Braxton. And this is what he did. And he did it. He just had a multi-leveled so that you could see multiple. And he just did it over 3 days. Anyway, that's it. Thank you. That's how you can get in touch with me. That's my phone number. It's okay if it's on YouTube. People don't call me. I don't know why, but maybe because I'm just too much for people. But it's 251-604-2352. And I'm on iMessage and on WhatsApp, but I'm not great on WhatsApp. And you can reach me at Diane@rechargingyou.com or at Creatives Ignite or Design Recharge on any other platform. The end. Sorry it was so long. Now, are there any questions?
We have about 13 minutes left in the session, at least. We can go maybe a couple minutes after that, but yeah, so any questions? And Christopher, if you want to wrangle any questions that you see, or if you want to start us off with a question that you might have.
There's actually one very early on for Anne regarding the digital assets that you use. Where are you getting those from?
Various different places, photographs that I've taken, things that I've drawn. Creative Market, I've purchased things from Creative Market, Dustin from Retro Supply, Library of Congress, there's several sites where you can get, and my mind has just gone blank. Not royalty free, but I can't remember. Anyway, there's a lot of different places you can get, work that you can actually use that you don't have to, you're not stealing it from somebody. But that's where I've gotten a lot of stuff. It's just a lot of stuff from Library of Congress, because I'm doing a lot of retro looking things. So I wanted things that were a bit old. But I use a lot of retro supply.
Excellent, thanks. So if anyone has questions, obviously the chat is open. I'm sure you could also unmute yourself to ask. And while you're collecting your thoughts, just one for the group in general. I mean, it seems like a lot of these kind of side hustles generate new side hustles. Like, that you are serving on a board and you meet somebody who then invites you to participate in an exhibition or some other sort of thing. And so these things tend to be kind of generative and help kind of keep you moving forward, I think, in a way. I mean, does that seem to be the case? I mean, I don't think that's how you necessarily started, that it was this idea that, like, you're going to build an empire, from these networks, but that you're just doing something, and from that something leads other cool things.
Diane shaking her head no.
I know I'm not building an empire.
But it definitely happens in that way. I mean, when you're on community boards or doing stuff for organizations, you're building memorable opportunities, and you end up being top of mind when somebody has a project. And so it's not so much that you're attempting to collect people, you're just happening to share an experience with others.
I'd love to know what's holding people back from doing a side project, or if any of y'all have a side project.
I'm going to pipe in and say something about community. And Diane invited me to this power station, and it's probably one of the best things I've ever done, because, I've been to conferences and, done different things, but this group holds your feet to the fire, and you really have a safe place to fall. It's a small group. It's, it's just, it really was empowering to be part of this community, which a lot of times we don't have that. We have each other as far as educators, but this is more on people doing their own things, and everybody's doing something different. And the stuff that you can learn from each other is just incredible. It's just incredible. So I know that's something that really has really helped me kind of move forward in not telling myself I don't have time, or telling myself that, this, what am I going to use this for? Well, I'm not going to use it for anything. I don't care at this point. But I really believe that's been a big plus, or big thing that's really, helped me move forward. Thank you, Diane.
Yeah, I think it's easy to start that. You just get 4 or 5 of your friends that maybe you don't even know super well, but they'll commit to you for 12 weeks of meeting for an hour and a half a week. I mean, it's just, they get to do a goal and you get to do a goal. I mean, you can do this. I hope. If you need friends, I can introduce you to some.
It's that accountability thing you were talking about, holding yourself accountable.
So Alberto says the feeling that we do tons of stuff already. And then Lisa says, I think also everyone around me to dictate the stuff I work on instead of deciding to work on stuff for myself.
Yeah, I felt that way too. I like literally, and even dictating myself to do things. Like, I got to get this website fixed. I got to get this done. I got to get that done. I got to put, myself out there on social media. Well, no, I don't. So, I need to have that self, that mental thing that you know, the strength of, you know, having my own, in my own mental space.
And Gary says that I should be doing something else, engaging with family. So Gary, I would say my family is not up at 5:30 in the morning. So I get up early and then I do it then. And then you are worth it. And I think that's something I struggle with, is the worthiness. But if I know I'm helping somebody else, which that, I mean, I think it's just about a way to pivot it. David, I don't know if you have a insight for that, because you have a lot of things too.
Well, there's always something that's going to occupy your time, whether it's friends, whether it's family, whether it's work. And we all have to take a step back for our own mental health and awareness to say, okay, well, what am I doing to recharge myself? Is it a creative exercise? Is it, you know, walking around in the backyard aimlessly or staring at the clouds? Or is it meeting strangers, right? Like, you've got to pour back into you in a way that's healthy, so that you don't burn out with students or burn out with your family or burn out with the organizations that you're a part of.
Alberto?
I have a question of when the hustle, we got to remove the side label. Because, for example, a lot of you, I don't know you because of what you consider to be the primary effort. I mean, I don't know David for an educator. I don't know him for a civic. I know him for a lettering artist and a runner. And I think it's a matter also how we frame our heads into defining these things, because right now we've been talking about side and, you know, the connotation of that word, when basically these are kind of like the real use.
Diane, who hates this word side hustle? Someone help.
I know Scotty.
Yeah, I don't, yeah. It's not necessarily a hustle.
I don't think of it as a hustle. I just think of it as a side exploration, because I didn't know what I was doing when I was doing those collages. I just knew I liked collage. And so it was just me committing to 30 days. So it wasn't a hustle to me. It was actually me giving into something that I wanted to explore. And so I like side project or passion project. It doesn't mean that it's going to be a 9-year, 10-year thing. But you know, you've got to say, is it still feeding you in some way? Does it still do something for you? And if it does, then keep going.
That was actually, Diane, I had a kind of quick question about all of you do these amazing works and all these side hustles, and it looks very creatively fulfilling. Do you, besides giving presentations like this and whatnot, do you stop to reflect on those pieces and what you've created over time? Like David, you mentioned you are making that book for your daughter, which I think is excellent. And do you actually take time to like think about your growth, think about your learning, and does that direct the next thing you do?
Is that for me or for Diane?
David.
All across the board.
Yeah, like it's been weird, you know. At this point, I've probably hand lettered and published like almost 300 different pieces, and so I'm looking back at different styles. I'm like, man, I really love that. Like, why am I not doing that right now? Right? Like, or I've noticed like color phases where I was only doing black and yellow, or like right now I'm doing like black and red or blue and red, or it's strange. But yeah, I'm absolutely processing it, you know, as it goes, to think about, well, why did I letter today? You know, was it a stress relief, or was it a creative exercise, or was it both? Was it to get away from my kids for a second, right? Or was it to include them? Because sometimes in some of these pieces, the backgrounds, my 2-year-old is literally drawn, and I'll illustrate something on top of that. And so it really, yeah, it just really depends. So I do have an opportunity to process that. But in addition to that, like having a community of people to talk to about it, and share. Like I talk to Diane quite frequently about this stuff. Like we don't always talk about the grand successes of these projects and the grand failures. You just see them. But there are things that you're like, oh, no, they didn't get enough likes, or I got a hateful message on Instagram, or my grandma saw that and she thought it was fantastic. Like you just don't know. But having a community of folks that you can share and talk about these things with is an absolute joy and a blessing.
I think that community is huge. I think that we need to lift other people. You need to see something in your students that you're like, oh man, can you show me how you did that? And they like, that is huge. But there's so many things. I could meet with every single one of you and I would figure out something that was going to be amazing, that I would want to learn from you, but we just have to be willing to see and help them uncover it. What I noticed, I said things during this year that I never thought I would say, like, oh, I like the color of your bedroom wall to students, right? And I that was super uncomfortable, but I wasn't in her bedroom, but I was like, she was so ashamed of the really bright, vivid color. And I was like, tell me about that girl that chose that color. And she's like, I don't like it. I said, what color would you want now? She's like, I want gray. I just want to fit in. And oh, my heart hurts. Like, but that's where we need to have those conversations with them, is that they're not wanting to realize the things that we have. And in the last talk, I wanted to say this, so I'm going to just say it really quick. So do you guys know about a granny throw? You know, when you play basketball, I'm 5'1", I'm clearly not a basketball person, but a granny throw is like you stand back and you're, throwing it from your crotch, or your hips or something, but it's actually more accurate. So if we can do something that's more accurate, but maybe doesn't look cool, but it serves our clients, then maybe we should be doing more granny throws. Like we should be like, if that's who the audience is and they're going to buy that toothpaste because that's what their audience does, like those are things I think are really important. And I had somebody at a different conference, it was about mindset. She said, yeah, why do designers always have to make it? She was not a designer. She was like, why do you always have to make it have to be so like conceptual or impressive? She's like, I just need the granny throw. I just want to get the point, right? And at some point, I think maybe there's something valid about making things. And then also, I really want to help my clients go further, help more people, make an impact, change the world, right? Even if they're selling toothpaste or whatever, they believe in it and it's going to change their family's life. And I think I try to bring that into the classroom, because this, to me, it's not just aesthetics. We're helping people, entrepreneurs get out, and they have to trust us. We have to know enough about business that we have to teach our students about that. Like, I don't know, the end. I haven't gotten a lot of sleep. Sorry.
Zachary, I'll say one thing. Other than the Power Station group, no one has seen those collages until today. So I haven't shared them with anyone.
I'm pretty sure I speak for everyone that's a shame.
Well, Diane kind of convinced me to show as many as I could, and I didn't even show half of them. But in fact, when we were going over things this morning, she was like, oh, I haven't seen that one, or I haven't seen that one. But I have not shared them with anybody at all until today. So it was kind of uncomfortable for me to put it out there. But I felt like it was important enough to show you that there is so much to be gained from that. Diane can tell you I was really struggling when I went in that direction emotionally, and I was stressed out. But that has really, really, really changed my entire, well-being. So somebody asked me, what are you gonna do with them? I said, I have no idea. Right now, they just sit on my computer, or actually my iCloud. I have no idea what I'm gonna do with them. No idea. I just kind of do them.
Can you imagine if we did that with our students, and then they were showing us something so raw and then we see that gold, and then we give them wind under their wings, and now they can actually, and it doesn't have to just be our students, it could be your friends, it could be the person that's right next to you on this Zoom Brady Bunch board. Brady Bunch.
So
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah, but you know what I mean? Like, why can't you spend 3 minutes just lifting somebody else today? Like, absolutely. Can you just go follow somebody and just tell them what they're like, look into it and see what they're doing, see what they've written. And then just like, I see you. I saw Anne. I saw what she was doing. I saw the other thing wasn't working. I said, let's just forget that. Like, let's just, what do you want to do? And she's like, I don't have time. And I said, no, it's not a thing. Like, 15 minutes. Right. And I just think if we just need to be gold miners, and we just need to mine gold, but we have to take the time to listen and to let somebody cry and struggle, but then just got to push,
Yeah, and I was going to say back to, I guess piggybacking on that, Diane, and back to Alberto's point about the side project. Like, it's really not side; it's your whole self, right? Like, you should be bringing your whole self to work. You should be bringing your whole self to your students. You should be bringing your whole self to your colleagues. And if it's not okay for them to see all of that, then it's not necessarily the right place. And you may end up having to look elsewhere to find that space that's fully accepting and all that good stuff. But in that example, in bringing your full self to work, it allows the students to bring their full selves to the classroom and be vulnerable and to show all those different sides and nuances of their personality within the work. And so they can explain it with the nervousness and not think that they're going to get beat up about possibly being weird. I mean, because the reality is we're all a little weird and put that nuance into the work and the critiques.
And Megan D, man, she is a collage amazing. She'll get out there, and she used to send, can I tell this story?
Sure, Diane, you're my biggest fan though. So
oh my gosh.
Else.
Did they know that already? So Megan would send, when AIGA would publish the list of everybody's address, she would just randomly send art, like collage, out to AIGA members. And I love that. Like, that is love on designers, right? Like that, like, let's do that. Let's be Megan D. And they were awesome. She did a whole presentation at CCAC of all these, and she did it was walls and walls and walls of collages. How is Megan able to, we just got to get to know each other, more time with each other.
Right.
Thank
It's
you,
all
Diane.
possible. All possible.
Well, I think we are just past our time there. So thank you so much, everyone. I'm sure if you have additional questions, you can reach out to the panelists individually and they would be happy to talk to you, but yay.
Thank you.
Always the silent applause at the end of Zoom.
I know,
so
right?
Anticlimactic.
Oh, thank you so much, Christopher. That was such a great note to take us out on. Thank you so much, Christopher, for serving as the moderator for this session. Thank you so much, Diane, David, and Anne. That was so inspiring. I just, like I said in the chat, I just want to go make stuff now, which I think is the whole point, right?
Right.
So thank you everyone for joining us for this session of ShiftED. It's been recorded, so you can watch it all over again if you want to go back and look at all this amazing work. Thank you so much for the discussion. I think that was a really fantastic part of the session too. So that wraps it up for our official sessions for today. We do have a social mixer coming up in about, let's see what time it is now. So at about an hour and a half from now, being hosted by our own Katie Kirchmerrick. It's going to be on surviving academia. So be sure to come to that. You can share your horror stories, but also, as Katie says, let's also think about some paths forward. How can we support each other? So come join Katie for that and the rest of us. And otherwise, we'll see you tomorrow for our morning session and all the panels tomorrow. So thanks, everybody. Great to see you. Hopefully we'll see you soon.